What up, guys? It's your boy ZyberLock. Welcome to my guide on how to dual boot Nobara Linux with Windows on the Asus ROG Ally X. To get started, we're going to need a couple things. We're going to need a dock, just because the Ally X doesn't have enough space for everything that we're going to need to connect. A flash drive. This is where we're going to create the bootable Nobara image on. And a mouse and keyboard. You can also use a wireless mouse and keyboard if it has like the dongle. I believe that should work as well. But I will be using a wired mouse and keyboard. There's also going to be a few steps here that we need to do to complete this whole process, which I'm going to list on the screen now. And let's get started. The first thing we want to do is make some room on your SSD inside the Ally for Nobara Linux, since Windows consumes it all by default. To do this, select the magnifying glass on your taskbar. Then click on type here to search and enter disk management. And as you type, you should see this option come up, create and format hard disk partitions. Open that up. And you're going to see here on the bottom all my partitions for the current SSD that's installed. As you can see, the C drive is Windows, which is taking all the space. And what we want to do is shrink it to make room for Nobara. So hold it and select and let it go for a second. And this menu should open up and hit shrink volume. This is just checking how much space now we can shrink the C drive potentially by. Okay, as you can see, I have about 2.6 terabytes of space that's not being used in, by Windows. So we can shrink it by that amount if we were to choose. But all I want to do is shrink it by 500,000. So let's delete that and enter, not 500,000, 500 gigabytes, which is 500,000. So enter 500,000. Now this is up to you, depending on how much space you want to make your Linux partition. So I'm going to hit shrink. And it's just doing its thing. Okay. So you can see unallocated space. That's how much I shrinked the Windows partition by, and that's how much we have available to install Nobara. So the next part is going to be creating the bootable Nobara Linux flash drive, which we'll do next. Moving on to the next step, we need to download Nobara, and we need to download the program that's going to help us flash the image to the USB. So in order to do that, let's open up a web browser, head over to nobaraproject.org, and on the right, you're going to select download Nobara. Scroll down until you find Nobara 40 Steam handheld and download it. When this prompt comes up, just hit agree, and it's going to give you the option to save it. As you can see, I already downloaded the image, so just save it wherever you want to save it. Now it's going to take 5 to 10 minutes depending on your internet speeds, just so you're aware. Once the image has downloaded, open up another tab and go to etcher.balena.io, and once you're there, hit download etcher. This is going to help us write the image to the USB. Select Windows, download it, and save the file. I'm going to save it to my downloads. Once it's done, open it up. It may take a second here to open. There it is, it's loading. Okay, so at this point, we have the program that's going to help us flash the image, and we have downloaded the Nobara image. So get your USB and connect it to your Ally. I'm using this USB Type-C USB. If you have a Type-A USB, you may need an adapter like this. it's a USB type A to USB type C. Or if you're using a dock, you can also use something like this. Something like this, which is connects to type C, so you can connect your USB type A. But let's connect our USB. Close this if it pops up and go back to the program. Now here you're gonna select flash from file and you're gonna select the Nobara image that we downloaded. Select the USB, which is the only one we have connected, and then hit flash. Hit yes. Now this can take 10 minutes, depending on the flash drive and which, the speed of it and all that stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause really quick and return when it's done. Okay, now that it's finished, this may pop up because it just flashed your USB to a bootable drive, and Windows is like, what the hell is this? So it doesn't know. So just hit cancel on this. Hit OK, that's fine. Hit OK. And flash completed. So now we can move on to the next step. Moving on, the next thing we need to do is disable secure boot in your BIOS. But to do that, we need to disable device encryption. Once you make changes in your BIOS, it's going to trigger that device encryption on your Windows and it's going to lock it up. The only way to get through it is if you have like the key. Yeah, I think that is the only way you can get through, if you have the key, and it's just going to cause issues. So I would just go ahead and disable it. So open up your start menu here and search and start typing device encryption, and it should pop up. Device, and you're going to see this option here, device encryption settings. Click on it. You're going to see here device encryption. Mine is checked off already, but what you can do is just click it and it's going to turn off. More than likely your Ally is going to have it on by default. Now this is going to take about an hour to finish, so just be aware of that. I did it last night. I just left it running. So once that is turned off, let's reboot the Ally. Actually, before we do that, let's start connecting our keyboard and mouse. So I'm going to use a dock, which is this right here. And I'm going to connect it to the Ally, and then I'm going to connect everything else to it. So I'm going to disconnect my flash drive. I'm going to connect my flash drive to it. And let me connect my keyboard and mouse. All right, so I have everything connected: keyboard, mouse, flash drive, and I'm gonna connect it now to my Ally. We're doing this now because soon we're gonna be at the point where we need to access the installer and we need a keyboard and mouse. And let's restart your Ally. While it's restarting, hold down the volume button, the lower volume button. Just stay holding it. Just stay holding it until you see the BIOS screen. So just stay holding it. Okay, so this is what you should see if you stayed holding the volume button. Let me focus this real quick. This is the BIOS. So what we want to do here is we're going to press Y. Let me brighten things up really quick. We're going to press Y to go into advanced mode. And then you're going to press the right bumper until you get to security. You're going to go down all the way to secure boot. Select it by pressing A. Go down again to secure boot control. Select it by pressing A again. And select disabled. Now you're going to press the right bumper again so you can head over to save and exit. Let me focus this again. Yep. And hit save changes and exit. This is going to disable the secure boot and save the changes. Hit OK and stay holding the lower volume button again because we want to go back into that BIOS again. Okay, we're back in the BIOS. We have secure boot disabled. We can now boot into the flash drive with Nobara and run the installer so we can get that all configured. And that's going to be the next step. So what we want to do next is boot up to the Nobara installer on the flash drive. So there's two ways you can get there. You can press this button, which is going to open up the boot menu once you're in the BIOS, or you can touch the screen down here where it says boot menu and press it. I'm just going to press the button up here. And you're going to see two options here. You should see two options here. I have a third option because I already tried this with something else, but click your USB. You should see an option that says USB here. Not sure if you can see that, but click your option that says USB. Press A, and you're gonna see two options here as well. Let me zoom in. Just click the top one, which should say Nobara. Start Nobara 40. Just click that. And it should boot up to the Nobara installer. If it fails for some reason, just reboot and try it again. So it might take a minute or two. Okay, so I'm gonna switch scenes here so you guys can see better. So what you see here is the Nobara installer. It's very straightforward. All you have to do is follow the prompts. So hit next. Select the region you're located in. Select the keyboard layout you want. And this is the important part. Earlier in the video, we made some space on our SSD to install Nobara, right? So what you want to do is choose the option replace a partition. Now, here you're going to see your partitions on your SSD. Most likely the biggest partition you're going to see is going to be your Windows operating system. And then the blank or empty partition that we created should be this gray one right here. So you just click it. And the bottom row, it shows what it's gonna occupy. So since we selected the gray part up here, it's gonna install Nobara on it, and it's gonna install it here in the same partition. They just highlighted so so you can be aware which partition is gonna be used. So we're gonna have our Windows partition, which is this yellow one, and then our Nobara Linux partition, which is gonna be this one, which is the free space we freed up earlier in the video. So once you got that done, hit next and just name it, whatever you want your username to be. This is gonna be mine. And then choose your password. This is also gonna be your admin password, or you can choose to. I usually just choose it to be the same. As you can see the option in the bottom. So these are the two options. You can use the same password as your admin password. I just do that just to keep it all unified. And you can have it automatically log in without asking for the password. I don't have anything serious on this, so I'm just going to leave it as is. Let me actually change the name of it just so I can see it differently on my network. Okay, so hit next. And this is just a summary of everything that's going to happen. It's going to take this blank gray partition and install Nobara on it. Hit install. And this is going to take a few minutes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it finish and I'll be back. All right, guys. So as you can see, it's all done. Let's hit the button here, restart now, and hit done. And you just want to hit or hold the lower volume button one more time because we want to get into the BIOS. So hold the lower volume button one more time. All right, we can also remove the USB from the Ally. We don't need it anymore. We don't need to boot into it anymore because the Nobara is now installed. So after you remove it, let's go back to the boot menu, which is this button or the boot menu button down here. And you want to select the Fedora CT. And once you do that, just select, you're going to see a few different options this time. So what you're going to want to do, I don't know if you can see that. Hold on. That's going to be hard to focus. But choose the option that says Nobara Linux. And then it should have like the current version of Nobara. So it should be like 6.8.12. F sync, something along those lines. The top one. It should have like an asterisk. So just choose it. And now you're going to boot into Nobara Linux. Should boot any second now. Okay. So the reason why it wasn't showing is because I have my capture card connected. So this is what you should see when you first boot into Nobara after installation. So what you want to do is just hit A, follow the instructions, choose your time zone, and then choose your Wi-Fi. Continue. All right, guys. Once you're here, you can sign in with your Steam account, which what I'm gonna do right now. Okay, let me get this here. Now it's gonna sign you in. And it's setting everything up in the background right now. Okay, welcome to your Steam Deck. Press any button. Keep pressing. All right, so now you're pretty much in this Steam-ish big picture mode. I've never used the Steam Deck before, so I'm assuming it looks fairly similar to this. Um, so this is like pretty much the big picture mode. If you press B, you can go to desktop mode. Just hit power and go to switch to desktop mode. Let's go back. Okay, perfect. Okay, and now that we're in desktop mode, you can do updates to your environment. Let's minimize all this stuff here. So as you can see, we're getting this message. We've detected a new Nobara installation. Before moving on, is required the perform a system update. You can hit yes. And just enter your password that you set up originally. So you pretty much have Nobara Linux installed now. You can just mess around with it. There's a few other things that need to be done left to get everything functioning, like all your buttons and stuff like that. But that's gonna be another video. And this is just doing updates now for the Nobara distribution. All right, guys. So this is pretty much the last step. Like I said, there's gonna be another video about configuring everything to work properly. The only thing I want to mention before I go is if you want to boot up to the Nobara environment, you have to do it from the BIOS, like how we did. So you have to hold the lower volume button, boot up to the BIOS, and hit the boot menu and select the Fedora option. That's the only way to boot up to the Nobara environment. Unfortunately, we can't set up a bootloader with the Ally because the buttons don't work while in the bootloader menu. And that's unfortunate. So if you ever want to get into your environment and not get into Windows, unfortunately, you have to go through the BIOS, the boot menu, and then boot up to Nobara. But I will have another video coming soon about setting everything up that we need. So thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video, leave any comments if you have any questions, and I will release a new video more on this shortly. Peace.